After sleeping at Machu Picchu, hiking to the top, scoring last-minute tickets, and trying circuits 1, 2, and 3, in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to plan your very first trip to Machu Picchu, based on some very recent personal experience. Now, in case you're new here, hi, I'm Christina from happytowander.com. And this channel is all about practical travel advice from someone who's been there, done that. So be sure to like and subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. And stick around until the end for a free planning checklist that is going to help you bring all this information together. Now, I was recently in Peru with my favorite eSIM company, Airalo, for their second annual brand trip. And with them, we did Machu Picchu in a pretty bougie and fancy way, with luxurious panoramic trains with open-air carriages, and even staying at Peru's most expensive hotel just steps away from the entrance of the citadel. For the sake of comprehensiveness though, I also visited independently, staying 3 nights in Aguascalientes and braving the infamous Ministry of Culture ticket office to see just how difficult it is to buy tickets last minute when everything else is sold out online. I hope you find it helpful. Now let's get started with some general Machu Picchu planning tips. First off, you might notice I am saying it a little bit funny, Machu Picchu. Well, apparently that's the way you're supposed to say it according to every tour guide I encountered, so do with that information what you will. Now let's move on to some planning basics, first ensuring that you understand the general process for how to actually get to Machu Picchu, because truly it is not as simple as just walking up and buying an entry ticket. So to help you get your bearings, the site and world wonder that we know as Machu Picchu is an epic 15th century citadel located in the Urubamba province of Peru. Most visitors are going to fly into the closest airport, which at the moment is Cusco. But that is still 80 kilometers away. Before you can even get to the entrance of the site that we know as Machu Picchu, or the citadel of Machu Picchu, you actually need to catch a 30-minute bus ride or a 1.5 to 2 hour hike from the town known as Aguascalientes, or Machu Picchu Pueblo, which is the village that is at the base of Machu Picchu. And to get there, most visitors are going to take either a direct train from Cusco, which is only an option in peak season, or if you're visiting not in peak season like I did, you're going to rely on a bimodal route, which involves taking a bus to the town of Ollantaytambo, and then taking a train from there to Aguascalientes. So to make this crystal clear, no, you cannot drive directly to Aguascalientes. And your journey to the citadel, no matter what your budget is always going to involve getting to Aguascalientes first, and then taking a bus to the top or hiking. So where do you begin with actually planning all of this? To sum up your options quite simply, you can either book with a tour company who's going to handle everything for you, but this is going to come at a pretty steep markup, or you can save a ton of money and book everything yourself. In this video, independent booking is what I'm mainly going to focus on. But if you're looking at the length of this thing and you're like, I'm good, then I am going to link to a few different tour companies that are reputable in the description. The only thing I'll say about booking with a tour company though is that they are not all made equal, okay? So no matter who you book with, make sure you are looking at a bunch of reviews, especially on platforms like Reddit and Facebook, where people don't really have any incentive to lie. The truth is, a lot of people have their trips completely spoiled by irresponsible tour companies who promise things like tickets to a certain circuit, when in reality, they can't actually do that. Now, big disclaimer, this video is accurate as of May 2026, but as I discovered while scripting this video, between scripting and filming, things changed. So please share your own experiences and any updates in the comments to help out your fellow travelers. And do note that if all goes according to plan, by 2028, a new international airport should be open in Chinchero, which should make this journey substantially easier because it is way closer to Aguascalientes than Cusco. In any case, the most important takeaway from this video is that you should book your tickets as far in advance as possible. If visiting Machu Picchu is the main purpose of your visit, honestly, I would recommend buying the tickets for this first before you even buy your flights and your hotels, just because these tickets are like gold dust. Now, you should know because of its popularity, visitor numbers at Machu Picchu are actually capped. So as of 2026, these daily caps are in peak season, 6,500 people, and 4,500 people in low season. Meaning this is the maximum number of tickets that they sell, bearing in mind they do set aside 1,000 to sell per day for last-minute buyers. But seriously, do not underestimate how quickly these tickets go. Looking in mid-February, all the tickets for the most popular circuit, Circuit 2, were sold out through June. So act quickly. Now, in terms of when to go, something else to keep in mind is that the two main seasons for visiting Machu Picchu are high season, which is dry season, or low season, which is rainy season. Now, generally, rainy season is from November to April-ish, and while it's a bit moodier in terms of weather, you are going to be dealing with way fewer crowds. And dry season is from May-ish to October, with better weather but heavier crowds that hit their peak from June to August. Now, I visited in mid-April and again in the third week of April, and I can honestly really recommend it. Sure, you're still coming out of rainy season a little bit, but the relatively fewer crowds and the fact that you get the occasional rainstorm and everything is still so green is honestly a really, really magical experience. Next, let's talk accommodation. I would really not advise you do Machu Picchu as a day trip from Cusco. It is really such a long day, and I promise the experience is going to feel so much more amazing if you give it a little time to breathe. So that said, I do recommend you either stay in Ollantaytambo or in Aguascalientes itself. To me, these hours saved are well worth it. And in terms of elevation as well, this actually does make more sense because the Sacred Valley and Machu Picchu are actually at a lower elevation than Cusco. So if you're arriving in Cusco and you're afraid of altitude sickness, going straight into the Sacred Valley is actually going to be a lot better in terms of the adjustment. It's actually pretty easy for you to get a taxi from Cusco Airport straight to Ollantaytambo. This is what I did, and I just ordered a taxi through Taxi Datum, and I was able to go straight into the Sacred Valley for $35 one way. For that though, you have to make sure you have a solid and reliable mobile data connection. Because in Peru, everything from booking taxi services to tour guides happens through WhatsApp. And by far, my favorite way to do that is by getting an eSIM. So on that note, this week's video is brought to you by Airlo, my go-to eSIM provider that has packages for over 200 countries and regions, including Peru. They're also the ones that made my incredible trip possible. Standing for Embedded SIM, an eSIM is a handy digital alternative to physical SIM cards that come pre-installed on your device, and therefore connects you to local telecom networks 100% digitally as soon as you land, which I needed pretty much right away. Luckily, with the Airlo app, I was able to buy and install my eSIM at the airport before taking off. Everything was ready within minutes and worked like a charm as soon as I landed in Peru, all without needing to deal with physical SIM cards or pricey roaming fees. From translating menus and booking transport on the go, to getting all sorts of historical fun facts while sightseeing, mobile data is a must for your trip in Peru. And here's how you can get an amazing deal on it. Airlo is currently offering a limited time discount of 20% off with the code HAPPY20 valid until the end of May. The best part is you can buy your eSIM now and then activate it later when you go on your trip. So scan this QR code here to install the Airlo app today, and again use the code HAPPY20 at checkout to get 20% off. Now, truthfully, the hotel options in Aguascalientes are pretty limited and relatively speaking quite expensive, especially when you compare them to Ollantaytambo, which is why a lot of people prefer to stay there rather than in Aguascalientes. But honestly, given that the train is still an hour and a half each way, I do think it makes sense to stay in Aguascalientes just because you save so much time. It also lets you experience the town beyond what most tourists get to see. And having stayed there for 3 nights, I can honestly say, yes, it is a touristy place, but there's a lot of hidden gems that most people don't bother to go to. Like a pretty cool but small museum, a gorgeous butterfly conservatory, and even Paddington Bear himself. We stayed for 3 nights at the Casa Andina Standard, which was right on the river, and the view from our room and from breakfast was unreal. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, if you're looking for a truly once-in-a-lifetime stay, the Sanctuary Lodge is the only hotel that is located right next to Machu Picchu, meaning you can fall asleep with stunning mountain views and then roll out of bed and literally be at the entrance in less than 2 minutes. All rates are full board, meaning all your food and drink are included, and there's a lot of fun activities like bird watching and also pisco tasting. I stayed here during my trip with Airlo, and honestly, it was incredible. Just the fact that I could come back to the hotel and change in between circuits was unbelievable. Now, finally, before we move on to more logistical stuff, I do have to say, before your trip, make sure you do familiarize yourself a little bit with the history of Machu Picchu and also Inca history as well. Because at the end of the day, Machu Picchu is full of ruins, so without any context, it can be quite difficult to know what you're really looking at. Granted, a lot of people do hire guides to sort of fill in the blanks for them, and I do think this can be good, but if you're keen to explore at your own pace, and you want to leave time to wait out any changes in weather, then you can just do as I did, do a bit of prior reading, so you have an idea of what you're seeing. One book I can really recommend is called Turn Right at Machu Picchu, which is a travel memoir by a writer who takes it upon himself to retrace the 1911 Hiram Bingham expedition where he found Machu Picchu, but ultimately made it super famous and brought it to a global stage. There's also a bunch of really fun History Channel stuff on YouTube. Now, I personally combined this prior research along with some on-site Googling as needed. Because these days with image search on Google, you can literally take a photo of something and then it'll tell you what you're looking at. All right, now let's move on to a step-by-step tutorial on how to buy your tickets. When it comes to Machu Picchu tickets, you're not just buying one general admission ticket. Tickets are bought for set circuits and routes, so choose wisely. To sum things up, these days, Machu Picchu operates on a timed entry system, with 10 fixed route or ruta options available in peak season. So you can think of it as the circuit is the general area that you have access to, and then the route is the specific path that you have to follow. All right, so this is the first page you need to go to, the official website. You can use Google Translate to help you with this process, but take note that sometimes the auto-translate actually somehow breaks the website. So if you encounter any strange issues, like you can't click on certain boxes or type in certain boxes, that should be your first point of troubleshooting, is to turn off the auto-translate. Now here's where you choose your desired circuit and then your route. In terms of circuits, circuit 1 are the panoramic views, the postcard views, but you don't actually get to go into the ruins. Circuit 2 is the combination, so you actually get a bit of the postcard view and also a little walk around the ruins. And then circuit 3 focuses on seeing the lower parts of Machu Picchu, so you don't get that postcard view, but you do get to explore the ruins in depth. And then after you've chosen your circuit, you can choose your route. So again, these all give you access to different parts of the site. So within circuit 1, your route options are Ruta 1A, which is the Ruta Montaña Machu Picchu. And this allows you to climb up to access this viewpoint from the actual mountain known as Machu Picchu. Then there's Ruta 1B, the Ruta Terrazza Superior, which is a classic postcard view that allows you to capture this full view of the citadel. There are also 2 more options that are only available in high season. Ruta 1C, the Ruta Portada Inti Punku, which allows you to walk over to the famous Sun Gate, and Ruta 1D, Ruta Puente Inca, which allows you to walk over to the Inca Bridge. Within Circuit 2, your route options are Circuit 2A, the Ruta Diseñada, and Ruta 2B, which is the Ruta Terrazza Inferior. To be honest with you, these are more or less the same, except 2B grants you access to one specific terrace, I think, that 2A doesn't get to go to. Now, I actually had tickets for 2A, but when we got there, the guy was like, oh, you like taking pictures? You should actually do 2B. So he just let us up 2B. So I don't think they're as strict on these routes as with other circuits because they're more or less the same. I can definitely say that this is the circuit that you're gonna want to do if you're only picking one, but it is the one that sells out the quickest. Within Circuit 3, your route options are Ruta 3A, which includes the very steep but very rewarding hike up Huayna Picchu Mountain. Ruta 3B, Ruta Diseñada, which includes a thorough overview of the lower portion of the citadel with highlights like the Temple of the Sun and the Intihuatana Stone. Ruta 3C, the Ruta Gran Caverna, which includes access to lesser-known ruins like the Temple of the Moon. And Ruta 3D, Ruta Huchu Picchu. A big disclaimer here though is that with all Circuit 3 tickets, you will not have access to the classic postcard view that you see anytime you Google a photo of Machu Picchu. So if that's what you're going for, Circuit 3 is not the one for you. I should also note that parts of Ruta 3B are often built as the most accessible route for visitors with limited mobility. However, based on feedback from some amazing followers of mine on Instagram, I've been told that this route is actually a lot more challenging than they let on the website. With rough stone stairs, no guardrails or handholds in many places, packed dirt viewing platforms, and nowhere to sit apart from the wheelchair lookout. So be aware that this route does still come with some challenges, even if it's billed as the accessible one. Next, you select your date and time. I would really recommend doing an earlier time, and then you say where you're from. So foreigner, Peruvian, can countries like Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, or a Cusco resident. After you add the tickets to your cart, you will be prompted to make an account. So the first time I tried this, I kept getting an error message after I entered my passport info, and honestly, I was ready to give up. But fun fact, turns out the website is just clunky. So sometimes if it's not working, I'm not even joking, just brute force it, just like keep clicking and it'll start to work. Beware that here in Spanish, nombre is first name and apellido is last name. And don't get confused by me like this bit when it says primero apellido. I saw primero and I was like, oh, I know that means first, so I thought that was first name. Nah, in Latin American countries, it's actually very common for people to have a primero apellido, so a first surname and then a second surname as well from the mother and father. And at this point, do triple check everything because they do check your documents multiple times when you're entering. Now, once you're done with the reservation, do beware that making a reservation is not enough. You do also need to pay for the reservation before the time and date listed. And finally, to cap off this horror show of an experience, it didn't actually let me download my tickets, but it did eventually let me do it leading up to the trip. So if you don't see the download button immediately, don't panic, just give it some time. Something that's very important to know is that you are allowed to buy multiple routes for the same day. On both of my visits, I actually did 2 routes in one day. So long as the time slots don't overlap, you are allowed to do this. And so if you want to make the most of your time at Machu Picchu, I would recommend it, especially if you don't manage to get Circuit 2 tickets. You can effectively get a Circuit 1 ticket and then a Circuit 3 ticket and combine those so that you get both panoramic views and a little frolic around the ruins. Now, if you're watching this and you've been to Machu Picchu before, please let me know in the comments which circuits you did, if you would recommend it, because I obviously didn't do every single one, so it'd be good to hear your perspective. All right, let's say you're watching this video late and now you're panicking because you didn't manage to secure your tickets months in advance. Well, don't panic yet, because as I mentioned before, the Ministry of Culture does set aside 1,000 tickets to sell per day, usually the day before. So if you want tickets for May 10th, let's say, the latest you can buy them is May 9th. It's not possible to buy them the day of. This means if you're gonna go for the last minute tickets, you are gonna have to go to Aguas Calientes at least twice. Once to buy the tickets, and then again the next day to go up to Machu Picchu. That's why I would really recommend just staying in the town at least 1 or 2 nights. Now, a very important note though, this system seems to change quite a lot. So a lot of the information that you're reading is very likely outdated. During my trip, I had read that they actually rehauled the entire system in August 2025, meaning you would just go there, first come, first serve, and then buy tickets for the next day. And this was consistent with my experience when I went. But in between me going and me scripting and filming this video, apparently things changed again. And now it seems like on very busy days, they do actually hand out pre-tickets, and you actually have to line up for tickets 2 days in advance, which actually happened this past week because apparently the demand was just crazy. So my best advice for you is to really make sure you are researching leading up to your trip. The subreddit for Machu Picchu is really good. People in there are constantly sharing their experiences. TikTok is also good. People tend to share videos on there. And there is a little known website that actually shows you the live availability of tickets. So you can actually gauge what the availability situation is like in the week leading up to your trip. So you can kind of see, okay, by 2 o'clock, let's say most of the tickets are sold out, whatever. This, however, was my experience on a Saturday in mid-April. Like I said, I got super lucky and I don't understand how. Basically, I stayed overnight at Aguas Calientes and I got to the line at 5:53 a.m. At this point, there was about 30 people ahead of us. The line then started moving very promptly at 6 a.m. and I had tickets in hand by 6:30. When I walked past again at 12 p.m., there was still over 500 tickets available. Again, this is why maybe going in shoulder season is a better idea than going in peak season. Now, very important warning for people who are desperate enough, you might actually look into tour companies that promise you that they're gonna get you a ticket. Please be very, very careful with this option. Not only are these tours horrifically marked up, the reality is tour companies are actually buying tickets from the same pool as everyone else. They do not actually have magical access to more tickets than you do. So if your desired circuit for your dates is sold out online, there is no way for a tour company to magically get you those tickets. And considering the fact that you cannot actually buy tickets without your passport information, no company can actually buy you tickets until you give them that info. So if you look on Reddit, there are so many horror stories of people who have booked packages with tour companies only to have them canceled like the day before or the week leading up to it, at which point you are screwed and you can't really do anything. Or some more reputable companies will actually tell you that their package includes bringing you to Aguas Calientes the day before so you can get your own last minute ticket. In which case you can just do that yourself and it's gonna cost you way less than if a tour company brought you to do it. Now, after you have these entry tickets, remember you do also have to buy tickets for the bus to get you up to the Citadel unless you're gonna hike. This is fairly straightforward because you don't need a specific time slot. You just buy for the day because basically what happens is they have so many buses going up there. The buses start at 5:30 and then they just keep filling the buses full and sending them up as soon as they're full. You can buy these tickets in person or just buy them online for ease. But I will say the bus is pretty pricey at $12 each way per person. But honestly, it's money well spent because you don't want to be hiking up unless you're a really avid hiker, because even the visit itself with the altitude is going to make you quite breathless. If you want the best of both worlds and you want to save a little bit of money, what I ended up doing on one of my visits is I took the bus up and then I hiked down. And let me tell you, a lot of people are lying to you about this hike because people say there are no views. Honestly, there were some incredible views on the way down, and the whole path is actually shaded really nicely. So I thought this was a perfect end to the day. It kind of extended the experience and I got to avoid any of those super long lineups to get back down. So honestly, I would really recommend doing that. All right, with tickets in tow, now it's time to talk about transport options for Machu Picchu, which is another delightfully complicated topic. We'll start with the train to Aguas Calientes. So what you need to know is that there are two main companies that offer this journey, Inca Rail and Peru Rail. Honestly, the service they offer is super similar, so it's not like one is objectively better than the other. If you're really just looking for a mode of transport from point A to point B, just look at the timetable and see which one fits your schedule better. If, however, you are a train enthusiast like I am, and you see the train as part of the experience, then there are some crucial details to be mindful of. Now, I desperately wanted to try out both for the sake of this video, but at the end of the day, the Peru Rail timetable just worked a lot better with my schedule. So unfortunately, I only have Peru Rail experience. But if you've been with Inca Rail, please let me know in the comments. Now, with both companies, do note that you do save 5% if you book a round trip ticket, and both companies offer various train classes that you can book. Sometimes you'll see that one departure time has multiple classes, and that just means it's all one train, but you're basically in different carriages which have different experiences. Things to pay special attention to include the departure station, because in peak season, trains do leave from different stations in Cusco. So Huanchac Station and San Pedro Station are the only two that are in central Cusco, and Poroy is about 20 minutes away. Also pay attention to the transport mode. So whether it's actually going to be a train the whole way through, or if it's a bimodal journey as they call it, which means it's going to be a combination of bus to Ollantaytambo and then train from Ollantaytambo to Aguascalientes. As far as I could tell while researching different options, Inca Rail seems to only do the bimodal option, whereas Peru Rail from May to September offers options from San Pedro Station in central Cusco and Poroy Station as well. Now let's talk the different classes and fares that you can purchase. From cheapest to most expensive, Peru Rail offers the following services to and from Machu Picchu. Expedition, which starts at $89 one way in peak season and is the most minimal service they offer, with no snacks or entertainment included. Next up is the Vista Dome, which starts at $130 one way, has slightly bigger windows, and some snacks and entertainment included. In the next tier up, we have the Vista Dome Observatory. This starts at $170 one way and has access to a special observatory car, which is partially open air and just offers a really cool perspective for photography as well as live music in the car. For our journey, we were limited in how long we were able to actually stay in this carriage, by the way, because I think we were sharing it with another Vista Dome Observatory car, so just keep that in mind. This isn't necessarily one you can hang out in the entire time. And finally, there is the very swanky Hiram Bingham Belmont train. This is bookable through the Belmont website and starts at $630, which includes all sorts of fancy stuff like a gourmet meal, a bar cart, a VIP lounge, and even cocktails at the Sanctuary Lodge at the end. Now, having taken both Expedition class and the Vista Dome Observatory, I can say the Expedition class is totally fine. The seats are comfy, and honestly, if you want a low-key trip where you're not just bombarded with interruptions, this might actually be the way to go. I took this one at night and it was so peaceful. The Vista Dome Observatory, though, is worth it if you want that unique open-air perspective at the end of the train. It's honestly such a thrill, and the live music is also great. The other entertainment, like the baby alpaca wool fashion show, is just okay. Now let's do Inca Rail. So from cheapest to most expensive, Inca Rail offers the following services to and from Machu Picchu. The Voyager, which starts at $89 one way, and is the most minimal service that they offer with no snacks or entertainment included. The 360, which starts at $135 one way and includes live music and an open-air observatory car in the middle of the train. The Prime, which starts at $153 one way and includes a complimentary tasting of local snacks, live music, and nicer seats. The First Class, which starts at $380 one way and includes a 3-course gourmet menu, a lounge and bar cart, entertainment, plus an open-air balcony. And the Private, which is so expensive that you have to inquire about the price. But it's a private carriage for just you and your friends, so I think you can use your imagination and probably guess what the price range might look like for that. Now, all Inca Rail trains also have special fares that you can buy as well, which basically dictates what's included in your ticket. So the most basic one is just the ticket for the journey, but you can add a plus package, which then gives you the bus up to Machu Picchu as well as a guide. And then there's the all-inclusive package where they're also going to help you secure your tickets. All in all, like I said, the service is quite similar, but hopefully now you kind of see the differences. I will say Peru Rail overall was great, but their website drove me crazy because there was this functionality built in where basically if you had more than one window for Peru Rail open at a time, it wouldn't let you do it. So you'd have to restart, which as a 100 tabs at a time kind of girl, I really couldn't stand. Now, if you aren't taking the train and you are set on walking, yes, we have finally reached that part of the video where we address that. Then you should note that there are several hikes that you can do to reach Machu Picchu, including the infamous Inca Trail. If you want to do this, the classic route is 4 days and 3 nights, with roughly 42 kilometers passing through various Inca ruins and then ending at the Sun Gate. This is one of the most famous hikes in the world, and for good reason, but it's also very tightly controlled. In fact, the Ministry of Culture restricts the number of permits that they allow per day to 500, and that includes both tourists and also any support staff like porters. And unlike regular entry tickets, there are no last-minute options, so this is definitely something you have to plan way in advance. There are, however, alternatives to the Inca Trail that aren't as tightly controlled, so if you're planning a little bit more last minute, here are some other options. The most popular alternative is the Salcantay Trek, which I've heard is incredible. It takes 4 to 5 days and 74 kilometers, but it stops at some truly incredible spots along the way. There's also the Lares Trek, which is about 33 kilometers and is supposedly quite a nice hike, though it doesn't actually get you to Machu Picchu. You still need to take additional transport for that last leg, so not quite the same vibe. And I will also note a lesser known option that involves a bit of walking and a bit of transport, but most importantly, also saves you money. And that is that you can actually walk to Aguas Calientes from a station known as Hidroelectrica. And this takes about 2 hours. So this is often the option chosen by budget travelers because Hidroelectrica is the closest point to Aguas Calientes that you can get to by car. And the journey from Cusco to Hidroelectrica is apparently only about $11 in a shared van. So if you just do that and then you walk, then that's going to save you so much money compared to taking the bus and then the train and then the bus again. Do note though that this area is infamously prone to mudslides during rainy season, so be sure to weigh the pros and cons. All right, let's move on to some Machu Picchu packing tips. First, do pack as light as you possibly can because there are quite strict luggage restrictions on the train. Yes, even the eye-gougingly expensive Hiram Bingham train restricts you to just one carry-on. So pack light. I will say on Peru Rail, at least, they were not really thorough in checking and enforcing the amount of bags you had. So long as you weren't doing anything crazy, like bringing a giant suitcase on board, they were usually fine with it. So I had a carry-on bag as well as an extra tote or an extra backpack, and they really didn't seem to care. And there was also zero weighing of bags as far as I could see. But you definitely don't want to try bending the rules too much, especially during peak season. With Peru Rail, I noticed that there were always luggage racks at the end of the train. Although take note that because of the panoramic windows, there's actually no luggage racks above the seats, which they had in the local cars, but not in the tourist ones. So if you're bringing any bags to your seat, you have to make sure it fits at your feet, or you can look out for the little gaps kind of in between the seats that are back to back. Usually you can fit a suitcase or a small bag in there. Though on their website, Peru Rail do have an option for you to pay extra to bring a larger bag on board, so you can always keep that in mind. They also offer very secure left luggage facilities at Ollantaytambo, which we actually took advantage of. You basically just showed them your train ticket and you left your bags there for however many days you needed. So I can definitely recommend that if you feel like you've overpacked and you don't want to risk bringing too much onto the train. Alternatively, most hotels in the area are super used to holding bags for people because they know about the bag restrictions. So don't be afraid to ask your hotel to hang onto your bags for you if you're going to be returning to the same point. In any case, I think you should pack light anyway, just because Aguas Calientes has so much uphill that you're not going to want to be dragging your suitcases up and down all those steps. In terms of what to pack, I do have to say, pack your comfiest shoes and your comfiest clothes, along with layers for all kinds of weather. Again, even walking just in Aguas Calientes, the village, there's so much uphill and downhill and stony steps that you're going to want good shoes. Weather is also super volatile. So I know I went in April, so it's a bit dicey. In the morning, super cold. It was raining, misty, and then as soon as afternoon and the sun came out, oh my gosh, it was so hot. So be sure to wear layers that you can add and remove as needed, and also really dress for exercise because I promise you're going to sweat quite a bit, even if you haven't chosen a circuit that involves a lot of hiking. Because no matter which circuit you pick, there's going to be a lot of up and downhill with the stairs, and add on the altitude, you're going to be huffing and puffing and sweaty. And I just saw so many people wearing these thick ponchos or big leather jackets or just like trendy outfits, and then they were just really regretting their life decisions. So all that to say, you can still look cute, but do dress for exercise. In terms of food and snacks, yes, you can bring water and liquids in. However, officially, according to the rules on their website, you're not meant to bring food in. I will say I never saw them check anybody's bag, and I did see a lot of people eating their own snacks on the trail. So do with that information what you will. But if you're bringing any food, do be prepared for them to take it away if they choose to check, because officially it's not allowed. If you do plan to bring your own snacks though, do keep in mind they do not have garbage bins up there, so be sure to pack out anything you bring in. And just by the entrance, there actually is a concession area that you can buy food at, but to be honest, the options leave quite a lot to be desired. I mean, I got a hot dog, which was pretty good. I think it was about 18 soles, which isn't bad, but some of the other hot food options like the pizzas looked pretty bleak. So definitely bring a backup snack just in case. On that note, do make sure you look at the list of prohibited items in advance, because there are certain ones that catch people off guard, like you're not allowed to bring umbrellas, you're not allowed to bring walking sticks without rubber tips, and no tripods as well. The only thing that I noticed they were proactively checking people for were walking sticks. I think because obviously those are visible on the outside. So if you're bringing walking sticks, make sure they have tips. Otherwise, you're gonna have to leave it in the coat check. All right, finally, let's move on to some Machu Picchu tips for the day of your trip. First off, do make sure you have your tickets and your passport ready at hand at all times. Okay, it was honestly comical the number of times that they checked my passport throughout this journey. I swear they checked it right before the bus twice. They checked it at the entrance, and then they checked it again inside. So just make sure that you have your tickets and passport. They're gonna wanna see it quite a lot. Next tip, especially if you're going in rainy season, do keep your passport in a Ziploc bag because the weather can be so unpredictable. If it starts raining, I think you're probably gonna be so enamored with the views, you're gonna forget that your passport is in your bag, and you really wanna make sure it doesn't get water damage. So yeah, definitely keep it in a Ziploc bag just in case. Next, make sure you have some coins for the bathroom and the coat check. So something to really take note of is at Machu Picchu, there is no time limit for when you are visiting the site. What you are limited by though is your bladder because there are no bathrooms inside, so you need to make sure you go before. And when I was visiting, the bathroom was about 2 soles per person, so not bad. And they do sell other things like feminine hygiene products as well, so you wanna have some cash for that. The bathrooms are actually fine at the start of the day. They do get a little bit gross over time because people are gross, but you know, when you gotta go, you gotta go. If you decide to hike as well, there's also people along the route who are selling things like water cash only, so yeah, make sure you have some coins. Finally, I say this from firsthand experience, if there is a clearing in the weather, do make sure to get your photos as soon as possible because on my first visit, I saw the mist rolling in. I was like, oh, it would be so cool if I time-lapse this. And I inadvertently captured the moment that mist covered the entire site and did not leave for an hour and a half. Very luckily, we stuck it out and we got to see the citadel emerge from the mist, which was very cool, but yeah, I really regret not just going and getting photos at the start because, well, yeah, once it was obscured for a while. All right, thanks so much for watching. You can check out this link here for that free planning checklist that I promised, and be sure to like and subscribe for more travel videos just like this one. I'll see you next time. Bye.